Hello and welcome to Life with Francie podcast, a place where you will find all kinds of conversation like mental health, self-love, self-care, trauma, hobbies, and more. With this podcast, I want to create a community where we support one another to get to the next level in business and personal life. Let's get the show started. On today's episode, I have the pleasure to talk to Nikki, the host of what my mother taught me. We did an amazing collaboration. My interview was on her podcast first, and we talked about boundaries. And then today on my podcast, we get to know her. So, welcome, Nikki. What is life with you?
I'm a little scared, to be honest, this morning. That's what life is with me, fear.
I get it all.
So we started and you told me you were going to ask, what is life with Nikki? And I'm like, what does that mean? And you're like, I don't know. You tell me. All right. So what I can say about my relationship with Francie is that we laugh a lot. So we have a lot of laughter. What is life with me? I'll say this much. So this morning, I woke up at 2:30 and I stayed in bed I always give myself 20 minutes. And if I can't go back to sleep, I just get up. So I got up at 3 and made coffee, got my Bible in my journal, read my Bible, prayed, and then read the news, and then did some work for my actual job. And then I went to the gym. And then today was the first day back to school for my kids. So I left the gym at 6. And I was calling my daughter to wake her up as I was driving back home. And I don't know what happened. So when I got home, I went upstairs and I woke them up. And my son's like, no. He's like, I haven't slept at all. I was like, yes, you have. You went to bed at 8. He said, no. I'm so tired. I have not slept. So I'm going back to bed. I'm like, no, sir, you're going to take a shower. And then my daughter was like, well, you were supposed to wake me up at 5 so I can do my exercise. She's 10. And I was like, yeah, nobody was waking you up at 5. So you can stretch your 10-year-old body. You're fine. And then we got ready for school and work. And then I dropped them off. And now I'm in my office talking to Francie because we've tried to do this several times. And
I know you said finally, it. Third time is a charm.
I told you it's going to work out. So that's what my life has been this morning.
Wow, sounds super busy. I literally just woke up, and when I finish this interview, I'm going back to bed because it's my day off.
I wish. No, I'm a morning person. So before 9 a.m., I've had a full day.
Wow, sounds like my bestie that has 4 kids. And by then she already did breakfast, lunch, and dinner at least for the next 3 weeks.
Yep. I'm 9 a.m. By 9 a.m. I've actually I have projects due for work and I got one of them completed this morning. So and then when I go to the gym, I'm better. Like I'm more energized. I'm just ready to go. So that's what life is like. And then what else? So my job, I work for a nonprofit that does, we help people who experiencing homelessness find stability. So we work with veterans and we work with civilians who just, some people just had a bad experience and then ended up homeless. Some people it's drug and alcohol, and some people just trauma. Some people it's criminal history and they become homeless. So we help them find housing and then we help them find employment so they can start gaining stability on their own.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
Yeah. So that is my day job.
Oh, and yeah, nighttime. What do you do?
I go to sleep. No, because I've been up.
I just, sorry, that did not sound right. But I say my motto is I'm a mail lady during the day and a podcaster at night.
Oh, okay. I see what you mean. Yeah, no, that's actually on the weekends. Like weekends is when I do all. That's why I record on Sundays because I'm useless at night. once it's like 5, 6 p.m., I'm done.
I bet.
Yeah, like nothing happened. So that was part of the reason I'm like, when I saw that there was an 8 a.m. slot, I was like, I gotta do the 8 a.m. because I'm awake, I'm alert, I'm energized, I have life in me,
And
so
that's why I like my schedule, because like sometimes in the morning I will have somebody from Europe in the
yeah,
evening. And
yeah,
I'm like, oh my God, that's so amazing, that we
yes,
can make it work and things like that. And then New York and all kinds of time zones. Because I either do it early in the morning or late at night
yeah,
are usually my times.
yeah,
But then on my day off, I'll try to have like a lot of time slots to be
yeah,
able to batch record interviews.
yeah.
But yeah, tell us about your podcast. How did you started it? What gave you the motivation to start your podcast?
Well, so what it is, it's just my goal with the podcast is just to build a community where parents have information and knowledge to help them raise their children and be better parents. So the premise of the podcast was really, after I got married, I realized that I didn't know a lot. There were things that I wish someone had talked to me about or told me about or prepped me for, like something as simple as just make the bed in the morning. I'm married to someone who is extremely neat. So where I wake up, I have to have coffee first before anything happens. He wakes up and the first thing he does is make the bed. He doesn't leave the house without the dishes being cleared out and cleaned. And that's just not how I grew up. So just little things um were happening that we would argue about. And I'm like, these are so minor that I don't see the big deal in it, but that's how he grew up, right? And then I grew up a different way. So I wish, so then I started realizing there are things I just wish someone had really taught me, like make your bed when you wake up before you leave the house, or do the dishes, before you go to bed. Just different things. So then when I had my daughter, I was like, I have to then prep her, not for marriage, but just for life, really. Like this morning when she woke up, I went upstairs before we left and she had made her bed. And it had been something that we were talking about a lot. And it helps because then when you come home, you're just cozy. So I started thinking there are things that I don't know that I wish my mother had taught me, because, I grew up without my mom for a really long time. And I didn't have basic life skills that would be beneficial to me as I grew up. So that was the premise of it. So it just started off with me just talking to mothers and their experiences, how their childhood experiences affect them as mothers and as adults. And I've done it almost a year now. And what I'm wanting to do now is bring in experts who can talk about skills and tools that will be beneficial to the parents and to kids as they grow up. So I've had a communication expert. I had one who talked about your menstrual cycle and things that even at this age, I have no idea, like the different cycles. It's actually a cycle. And
Mhm.
my conversation with her was so beneficial because my daughter, I could see it's coming. So I can help her now with the information I have. I can help her understand why she's emotional, why she's crying, why she's in pain. So all of the different cycles that come with your menstrual cycle. So something like that, I wish my mother had sat me down and talked to me about, but she didn't, and she didn't know to. So I'm hoping to just build a community of people with information that will help my community grow and be better parents and then better adults. And then the podcast, I touch on childhood trauma a lot. For some reason, that was not the point. But I guess when you talk about your childhood experiences, trauma is going to show up, and it has shown up so much. So now that I'm going to start a PhD program in August, because I'm so interested in childhood trauma now. And I want to understand it more so that I could better help people.
Wow. That is awesome. And yes, I understand that because I don't want to wear my story as a badge,
Yeah,
but I can't help it when I
it
go on
is there.
podcast interviews, I
Yeah,
have to talk about my trauma.
right.
Wow, yeah, I love it. I loved the conversation on your podcast. It went so smooth. And even with me not having kids, I was able to talk about my childhood
Yep.
and what I had, which that my mom had taught me as well. I can understand about that, not having well, my mom was there, but she was not present. So that still caused some trauma, and I can
Yes.
understand. I say I've been raising myself pretty much since I was a baby, but I can really pinpoint to 9 years old.
Yeah.
And then I had to teach myself a lot of
Yep.
stuff. And I think our generation too, 30s and 40s, well, and even older,
Who said
that
I was in my 30s and 40s?
are you in your
I'm just
20s?
kidding. I'm
I
just
was gonna
kidding.
say, I was like, by the way that we're talking, did you have your kid when you was like 15, 13? I mean, it does happen. Oh, that was funny. But
uh,
pretty much, and then you add generational
yeah.
curses and cultural, because what is your background, where do you, I don't know how to say it, but
Oh, so
like,
my parents are Nigerian.
okay.
My parents are Nigerian, so I'm African by descent.
And that there, I think it was on your podcast or somebody else that was from Nigeria that we talked like there's no like loving and kissing
Yeah,
and
no. But like now the newer generation of kids, it's changing quite a bit, you know. Our generation, when we were growing up, that was not a thing. It's so funny. During the New Year's Eve, we had some people over, and that was the conversation, like your parents hugging you and loving you and giving you compliments. And my husband was like, compliments? They abuse you, like they curse you. And that's how they were raised. But I think that parents don't understand how that affects their children. So yeah, in the Nigerian culture in the past, it had none of that. No, the love is, I bought you shoes, there's a roof over your head, you have food. That's me showing you that I love you, you know. And for some people, it's fine. They're okay with it. But for a lot of people, they're affected by it. And then you don't know how to then be an emotionally present parent, to be a provider, but not an emotionally present parent, which is really what a child needs.
yeah, I get it 100%. And so we deal with a lot.
Yeah,
And then on top of that, you add being a parent. So now you're dealing with your own baggage, with your own trauma, with your own thing. And now you have to make sure that you don't repeat that.
correct.
And yeah, for a lot of people, they don't have the resources. For me, my jam, I say, is mental health.
Yeah,
Just because I struggle with it. My family has struggled with it, and I know a lot of people that have.
yeah,
And now is just having a voice for the voiceless
yeah.
and share those resources. So I love your mission and the purpose of the podcast, and it's a lot of fun. I do listen to it and I
Oh,
love
good.
it.
Thank you. Yeah, I did not realize how much pain people are just carrying around. I did not realize how, just as adults, you're going by your day, you're going to work, you're taking care of your kids, you're living your life. But then your 10-year-old self or your 7-year-old self is still there in pain, and that needs to be dealt with. So I'm glad that the platform provides people with an opportunity to at least speak. Just speak whatever it is, the worst that can happen is nothing at all. You know what I mean? You say it out loud, you deal with it, you acknowledge it, and then you move on. I like being a parent who did not have the best childhood. I want my kids to have the best childhood. I'm not going to do everything right, they're going to have their own whatever life throws at them and whatever I did not do right. But I want to do the best that I can, and I want to give other people information and knowledge to help them do the best that they can also, because no one's perfect, you know.
Yeah,
So
100%.
I have a
Go ahead.
question for you though.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry. So when we spoke the last time, you talked about, and this was what people actually what resonated the most with people. You said, your dad gave you a PhD in, God, what was the word?
And all kinds of views, girl.
Yes.
He had
And
them covered.
you stopped there because you were like, I'm just gonna save it for mine. So now I'm curious, what have you done with that? Like, expand on that a bit, and what have you done with that PhD that you received?
Well, thank you for putting me on the hot spot in my own podcast.
I've been waiting because you said I can't say it here. I'm just gonna wait.
I was just respecting the flow.
Yeah.
And sometimes I feel like my story is too much. Like and sometimes I'm triggered by it.
Yeah.
So like I have to be careful on how I speak and everything else. So long story short, I met him when I was 9.
Yeah.
He just showed up at my house and unannounced, and I was like, well, he has my face and he has my grandma, so I'm pretty sure that this is the father that people were talking about.
Yeah.
From that, I regret that my mom didn't stop him and will be like, hey, let me talk to my child first, let me see how she's feeling about it, then you can come back.
Right.
Then we lost contact. At 13, I get depression, and my mom goes and talks to my grandma, and we start reaching out again. But as an angry teenager, I was all like, why did you leave me? Why didn't you care about me and
Yep.
everything else? And he goes, well, your mama's not a saint. I was like, I don't care about what you think about my mama. She's the one that is here with me when I'm sick, when I'm happy, when I'm sad, when I'm mad. She's taking it all. So nobody is allowed to talk about my mama. Then at 15, something happened with my mom, which is the wedding and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And he took advantage of that situation to be like, hey, you're going to be better off with me. So I came to live with him. And then from day one, I haven't spoke about it too much on my podcast, so thank you. um, so the training was pretty much, oh, I do laugh at awkward
No,
situations
I got
because
it. I got
it's like
it.
codependency, yeah, not
Safe
codependency,
space.
whatever.
You're
Yeah,
okay.
like how I'm coping. Anyways, um, so it was training to be a wife. He didn't want me to be like my mom.
Right.
And it wasn't until we moved to Kansas that that training went to another level. So it was emotional, verbal, um, a little bit of physical abuse, and there was some sexual abuse that ended up as consent. And the way a therapist explained it to me was um, like a veteran, like they go to war and they do what they have to do to survive war.
Yeah.
And then they come back to civil life. And it's like, okay, so am I a murderer that I'm just going to kill anybody or whatever? Or that was part of the mission.
Right.
So I had to separate that because I really struggle with being a horrible person.
Mm.
And so now I'm trying to, after a lot of therapy, my mentor of 2 years, which I love her to death, Portia Newton, she helped me with my sexual shame and sexual trauma and all that stuff. I was able to speak it out loud. And now I just hope to help others, because the sad part is I'm not the only one.
No, you're not.
And it sucks. And when I hear about it, like from other people, it breaks my heart. The silence between dysfunctional families, but I wasn't introduced to that world till I came over here. I have a lot of uncles. I have five on my mom's side
Wow.
and like 5 or 6 on my dad's side, my stepdad. And I respect all of them. And some
Yeah.
of them are even alcoholics. And I respect them. And there was no touching of little kids. That
Right.
didn't happen in my family. Between cousins, I just say there was too many of them, and teenagers shouldn't be with kids,
Right.
but I don't see it as abuse. So I was introduced to that world, and I'm just trying to get my story out there. I don't want to be known for it. That's why I talk about it in codes and things like that. But I do want, if somebody can relate to my story, come to me and have that conversation of just getting it out,
Yeah.
because sometimes we just need to let it out.
Yeah.
And 2 years ago, I wasn't able to talk about it.
Um,
And with my mentor, every Sunday for the past 2 years, we have worked through it and
mhm.
some inner child work. I have been able to get rid of the shame, guilt, and responsibility that didn't belong to me, which it was
Right.
the part that was eating me alive.
Right.
Holy moly, I have never said that, like, for real. I don't think so on my podcast. So thank you. I got it
You
out
are
on my own
welcome. It's what I
podcast.
do.
Yeah, but I just want to like help others.
Well, that's good. I like I said, when people are able to just say it, no matter what it is, you have to come out and say it. The worst that can happen is nothing. You free yourself, you release yourself. You
I
you
know.
can breathe just a little bit more. And it's your story to tell. So you tell it in whatever code you want to tell it. You tell it in the shortest version that you can say it, but you just keep telling it, because the sad truth about it is there's a little girl out there who's going through the same thing right now. And she
Yeah.
one day will come across your platform and then will hear your story and how you've turned your pain to purpose, and that will help her. So that's why I think it's really important that we pay attention to the traumas that make up part of who we are, and then
Yeah.
take that painful experience and then turn it into something purposeful, and then release ourselves from it.
And any type of abuse is hard and complicated. But when it comes from your parent
Yep.
that was supposed to protect you and love you, and they crossed that line, like one therapist was like, you should be in a mental health hospital. You should not be able to do what you do. And that's pretty much for the grace of God. Like,
Yeah, but
I,
that's not your, I don't agree with that though, because that's not the point of it. The point of it is not to break you to the point where you are unable to live a fulfilled life. The point of it is that it happened. You found strength in it to resolve it, move forward, and then use it to help others. So I don't, and I'm hard in that way where I think that when we want to, there's strength in there, no matter what.
Mhm.
When we want to, there's strength in there that we can overcome and we can move. And then if you have a good support system like your mentor, that's all you need is support plus the strength. So as bad as it is, yes, for some people, they will end up with so much trauma that they don't have the strength to move on. But that's not your story. Your story is you found strength in it to overcome.
And I give credit to my mommy. I love her to death. I say that she's almost perfect. And one of her biggest prayer, even when she found out that she was pregnant, it was for God to protect my heart,
Yeah.
because she knew what was happening around her. Like, she got abused by him as well.
Right.
And she just wanted to protect my heart. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's crazy. I just went back to Puerto Rico in December, And everybody and their mama was like, oh my gosh, you act like your mama, you sound like your mama, you are your mama's daughter. And I was like,
Okay.
thank you,
Oh,
that means
that's
the
so
world to
nice.
me, because there was the darkest days of my life, I
Yeah,
was like a monster, you know,
to
but
her.
it was to everybody,
Yeah,
because I had a wall up and you could not come through it.
yeah,
And even then, I have hard time like letting people in. Like my circle is getting smaller and smaller,
yeah.
not because I don't have people that care about me or that I don't care about them, but it's my safe zone.
Yep, I got
So
it.
if I let you in my bubble, you better believe that I trust you in every single way that I can. And I'm building my own family.
You're
And
right.
now I'm teaching my mom about it
Yeah.
because she loves everybody. And she, even my biological father, she gets angry at herself because she can't hate him.
I know.
And I was like, oh my gosh, you're the cutest thing ever.
Mm-mm-mm. No, my mom,
But
my
I was like,
dad,
don't let that, that anger
yeah.
destroy your heart.
Nope. My dad passed away in 1999. My biological father. Till this day. Till this day. My mom hates that man. Will tell you how much she hates him. Says if she could dig up his body, kill him again, and bury him, she would.
Yeah, no,
and
I get it.
and he's been dead since 1999, and she just won't let go of the pain. And for me, for him, he died. He got cancer and it killed him at like age 50 something. He was pretty young, but again, you live a certain way, and towards the end of his life, he wanted his kids, but I don't know you, so and I'm very strong-hearted, where I have no connection to you, I have no connection to you, you know what I mean? So it was, he lived he had another family, he got married, had other kids, and built a family. He became a pastor and changed his life and everything. But then towards the end, he wanted to make amends. But what are you making amends for? Like, you have no idea. And as a child, I had no idea the depths of the pain. So I could do nothing with the request to have me in his life, because I had nothing to give, nothing. I had no love for him. I had no hate. I had no feelings one way or the other. So I told my mom, you got to let it go. He died at 50 pretty badly. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So just, it's okay. But
My
nope.
mom always said, whatever you do, you pay here. Like,
Yeah.
we do believe in heaven and hell and
Yeah.
everything else, but we believe too that whatever you do, you're not going to go out without paying it for here. Whatever
Yeah.
happens
Yeah.
after life happens after life. But and she does pray to witness my biological father's fall. Like
Oh boy.
the other day,
It's
we
crazy
were
because
having.
men just, some men, not all men, some men just, they don't know what they do to women, and I believe that a woman, when you get married, your wife covers you 100%. But when she is done and that cover is done and she takes it away, oh, just move out of the way. Like, move away from wherever she is, because her wrath is not something you want, even in silence.
Yeah, I saw a Facebook post not too long ago that was like, man, if you lose your woman or something like that, it's your fault. Like,
Yes,
because she loves you 100%. Like,
yes.
once we love, we're in it.
But once we don't,
That's it.
we don't.
See ya. I wish I could do that with my actual partner right now. Oh my God, he's the only one I can't get rid of. No matter
Oh,
what he does, I'm like, oh, can I love you more?
well, there you
Oh,
go. Well,
anyways,
he's doing something right.
he was the one who took me out of that situation.
Yeah,
And for the longest time, I held him as my hero
yeah,
and I had him on a pedestal. he's definitely not on that pedestal. But once I love hard and
Yeah.
deep. And it's really hard, like, to get you out of my life. Like, if you're gone from my life, you better believe that you stabbed me so freaking hard that it crossed my heart, it went out of my back,
Yeah.
and then turned around the blade and came
Whoa.
out yeah, like, it's really bad.
Whoa.
But oh my god, thank you so much. Like, I mean,
You're welcome. I've been waiting. So I'm telling you, it was going to happen because I was like, I have to get her to tell me because it was like a cliffhanger, you
yeah,
know?
it is. And a lot of people, like, if I don't talk about it on their podcast, you better believe that they're asking me after the
Yes.
interview.
No, but I was
But
like, I'm gonna wait.
I just respect people's community,
Yeah.
and I go with the flow.
Yeah.
And the flow was like not innocent because we were talking about hard stuff as
Yeah, we
well,
were. Yeah.
but the topics were like neutral, and I was like, nah, let me just leave it
Yeah.
as this.
But you know
So,
what's
but I
crazy?
appreciate the
This is
question.
what I live for. I don't know why, but and that's why I decided to go back to school and actually study it. This is what I live for because I I've worked through mine, and I'm interested in other people's stories, partly because it gives me so much joy to see someone overcome it or working towards overcoming it. So where some people are like uncomfortable with it, it's like I think it's the biggest piece of who you are, your childhood and anything that happens that then turns into good for others. I think it's like the greatest thing.
It truly is, because once I felt seen and understood, oh my gosh, my mentor is like everything
Yeah,
to me.
yeah,
Excuse me. It was a different feeling.
yeah.
And I actually hire her. It's a big joke around people that know me, that talk shit behind my back, that she was a sex worker in her
Oh, wow.
20s, and
Was
like she's
she?
almost 40. Yeah.
Okay.
And I was like, that was the reason that I hired her.
Yeah,
I was like, heck yeah, she can understand,
she
even
knows. She
though
can
it's
relate.
different
Yeah,
traumas, she could relate to the fact of me having a wall inside the bedroom,
right,
or feeling like my worth is just inside the bedroom.
right,
So it's a lot of things that I struggle because of it, because of the message that I have in my head.
right.
And the part that pisses me off or make me a little bit angry is that he only spent 7 years out of my 35 years in my
Yeah.
life.
And
seven
he did
years and
so much
5 minutes.
damage. Yeah,
And he did so much damage.
yeah,
Then it sucks. And then, after almost a decade of not seeing each other, he gets to stab my heart again without having contact, because he kept my grandma from me. He's keeping
mhm.
my grandma from me.
How old is your grandma?
81. And
Okay.
she reached out to me last year, which it was not funny, but funny, because do you do the word of the year?
No.
Well, don't do it. I don't recommend it. I'm just kidding. I did peace
Oh,
for 2022.
that's my life's word is peace,
Oh,
like
I
for
love that.
life. Yeah.
Girl, January 4th of 2022, I was having a panic attack. On the 4th day
Oh,
of the year, I was like, well, this is how the year of peace. And I'm actually have to talk about that this year, because it passed a year.
yeah.
But it was pretty much that my grandma with Alzheimer's, now she remembers that she has a granddaughter.
Oh, wow.
And it's like, oh, really? Now is your time to
Now,
remember?
yeah.
And it was interesting to talk to her. And the part that broke my heart on our last conversation, she said, I'm sorry for the monster that I raised.
Yeah.
Like, I can't even imagine what you went through and things like that. And it broke my heart, because that's all I wanted from her. It was the acknowledgement,
Acknowledgement.
because he's an only child, so he could do no wrong with my grandma. And for the longest time, my grandma called me an ungrateful child.
Yeah.
So
But
can
she
you
didn't know
imagine?
either.
Not at all. And she had
Yeah.
a different story, and that is not normal, but it's common
Yeah.
in that side of the family because
Yeah.
there has been other family members doing it to other family members.
Yeah.
So it was something that I was supposed to keep under the rug, not tell anybody out, and not be ungrateful with him because he was giving me everything materialistic. I
Right.
had everything. I just seen a Christmas picture that I got a screenshot, and I was like, oh, the gifts. Oh, I miss all the gifts. But that was the only way that he loved people. And
Correct.
then on my side, it was he had the oldest daughter, F with her in every freaking way that he could possible,
Yeah.
and then has a son that my brother, he is his hero.
Hmm.
Because if you messed up with the oldest child, you just
The
start
youngest
brand
one.
new with the new one and you're
That's
good to
right.
go. But I do appreciate that my brother doesn't have the same story of abandonment from
Absolutely.
him and everything
Yeah.
else. So I'm not like jealous about it or anything like that. I'm just like, thank you that my
Grateful.
brother doesn't have that kind of story in his way in any ways. And I appreciate my mom and my mom's side of the family because their love and there's the seed that they planted when I was a
Yeah.
baby. Now I can see, what is blooming into. So it's
Yeah.
just focusing about the positive
Yeah.
and making something with your story.
Right.
So I love that for you, you knew that you had so much information to look for.
Yes. That's really it. It's all about me.
Yeah.
Always about me. That's how it starts. Always. And I'm okay with it.
And then you're like, oh well, hold up now. I can have a platform where I can help other
Yep.
women. And you are helping other
I hope
women.
so.
And shoot, you just helped me. I started like with my hands and everything, and I have calmed down.
Oh, this was good.
Anything else that you would like to share with my listeners? No
Um,
questions for me.
no,
Not
no
just
questions
kidding.
for
Not
you.
just
That
kidding.
was like it's been a Brandon
I love
question
it.
for
I love
3
it. That
months.
was a curveball.
No, nothing. I just hope that people will another the word here's the thing. I'll give you the words for the year. It's pain to purpose. I will use that. I hope that whomever comes across you and what you are trying to do will find purpose in whatever pain they have, and that's kind of similar to what I'm doing, use whatever the story is, the trauma is, the pain, and turn it into something purposeful. That's my word for 2023.
I know, isn't it crazy to say it out loud?
Yeah, it is crazy. It's even crazier because my daughter's gonna be 11 this year, and I'm like, how?
Oh
Where?
my goodness.
Where? Where? How? You know?
Time does fly.
Yeah, it does. And that's why it's so important that parents really deal with your issues, deal with your nonsense, speak it, acknowledge it, deal with it so that the time that you do have with your little ones is meaningful and filled with happy memories and not your trauma showing up in their childhood. Because then they'll carry it into their adulthood and their parenthood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. Where can my listeners follow you on social media?
Well, as you
What's
pointed
happening?
out, it's all different. So really on Instagram, adara._joy on Instagram is really where you will find me, and then adarajoy.com. So Adara Joy means joy. Adara means joy. And I
Okay.
always want to be at joy. That's why the name. Because
I love
at the time
that.
when I chose it, I just wanted joy. I just wanted something joyful, and it stuck with me. So just idarajoy.com is where they can find me. And please listen to the podcast, What I Wish My Mother Taught Me.
Oh, yes, definitely. I will have the links on the show notes for people to follow you and all the shout outs on social media.
I love it. I can't wait.
uh, I think this episode is going to be in February. So I
Okay.
said, what are you loving right now? Because it's about love. It's February.
I'm loving that I am energized this year. Like I'm loving that it's 2023. I started off the year right. I'm I've been working out every day. I just love that mentally I'm clear. There's just a clarity. And then, like I said, my life's word is peace. I'm at peace with everything in my life. So that's what I'm loving.
Oh, I love that. I wish I'm trying to get there.
You'll
I'm
get there.
trying
Keep
to
keep
get there.
talking. Keep talking. Keep talking. I'm talking and getting everything out. I hold nothing in. When I'm angry with you, I'm not yelling or screaming, but I will speak it. We will talk and then I'll move on. I may not talk to you ever again. I hold nothing in. So keep talking. You'll get there.
I'm trying. My family is the type, like my mom says that she has a treasure box in the middle of the ocean.
Yeah.
And I realized that I have one right next to her. But we love to, like, I love that I can work through some trauma with my
Yeah.
mom because
Yeah.
it helps her
Yes.
and it helps me and or bond, grow stronger
Yes.
because of it. But yeah, for a lot of generations, it's like, don't talk about
Don't
it.
talk about it.
And I just went back and I was talking about my 6th mental health diagnosis in Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
And they were like, what? And what did you do that for? Do you want Social Security? Do you want disability? And
no,
this is that.
no. I
I was like,
just want to deal
oh,
with it.
no. First of all, I got ambitions and dreams.
Yeah.
So I can't do that. But it was mostly for me.
Correct.
To know what I was dealing with.
Correct.
And then to be a reminder of my family was in my family. They were not happy about it that I have a title for it.
But that's okay.
But I
You
love
are
it
who you
because,
are.
yeah, and I want to end the stigma on trauma, on mental health, on all kinds of stuff because we're not supposed to be functional. And it's like debatable because when you look to your left, to your right, there is somebody that is hurting.
Yep.
Either hurting for something that happened to them personally or a loved one.
Correct.
And
And
that's
we
why I
got to
try
talk
to be,
about it and
yeah,
deal with it.
I try to be kind. I try to bring a smile to people and just getting some positive energy out there.
And you really do.
Thank you.
You
I
really
try.
do. Yeah.
Thank you so much for your time and
Thank
the curveball.
you. Thank you. I'm so glad I went to the gym this morning because I was ready for this. And I got my answer. Whew.
I love it. But anyways, thank you so much. I really appreciate this conversation and I just can't wait to see what people say
Thank you so
about
much.
your podcast and your story and everything else. So
Thank you.
thank you so much for listening to another podcast episode. And on YouTube, hit that like button and subscribe. That will help a lot to grow my channel. You can find her social media and links in the show notes. And yeah, thank you so much. I appreciate you. Hope you have a blessed day.